The door to my grandfather's old cabin burst open with a splintering crack. And there she stood, Karen Whitaker, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair catching the dusty sunlight like a halo from hell. "This eyesore is mine now," she snarled, her voice dripping with that fake southern drawl she put on for emphasis, waving a sheaf of papers like a weapon. "I'm gifting it to my son. Bradley, pack your crap and get out, or I'll have the sheriff drag you." My heart slammed against my ribs, the metallic tang of fear mixing with the musty pine scent of the place I'd called home for the last 5 years. This wasn't just a cabin. It was my sanctuary, the last piece of Grandpa left in this world, and this entitled witch thought she could steal it. No way in hell. I slammed the door back in her face, the wood vibrating under my palm, but her laughter echoed through the cracks like nails on a chalkboard. "You'll regret this, you squatter," she yelled, and I could hear her heels clicking away on the gravel path, sharp and triumphant. Sinking onto the worn leather couch, I let out a shaky breath, the kind that rattles your chest and leaves you hollow. How had it come to this? The cabin sat on the edge of Willow Creek Estates, a gated community where Grandpa had bought the land back in the 70s, long before the HOA turned it into a step-forward wife's nightmare. I'd inherited it after he passed cancer. Quick and cruel land moved in to escape the city grind. No frills, just creaking floors, a stone fireplace that smelled of old smoke, and views of the misty mountains that made your soul ache with their beauty. But Karen, oh God, Karen, as HOA president, she'd been gunning for me since day one. My wildflower garden wasn't regulation. My truck parked too prominently. And now this, claiming eminent domain or some bullshit because the cabin lowered property values. But gifting it to her son, that was a new low, even for her. The next morning, the air hung heavy with the scent of fresh rain on pine needles as I paced the porch. Coffee steaming in my mug, bitter and black like my mood. Bradley showed up first, her golden boy, mid-20s, with that smug frat boy grin and a U-Haul trailer rumbling behind his shiny SUV. "Mom says it's ours now," he called out, slamming the car door with a thud that echoed across the valley. HOA voted on it last night. Eminent domain for community improvement. My blood boiled, a hot flush creeping up my neck. Community improvement. This was theft. Plain and simple. I grabbed my phone, fingers trembling as I dialed my old friend, Mike, a real estate lawyer who'd handled Grandpa's will. "They can't do this," I muttered into the receiver, my voice cracking like dry leaves underfoot. Mike sighed on the other end, a long, weary exhale that carried years of dealing with HOA tyrants. "HOAs have power, but not this much. Send me the docs. We'll fight it." As days blurred into a haze of legal jargon and sleepless nights, where the cabin's walls seemed to close in with whispers of Grandpa's stories fishing trips on the creek, the crackle of logs in the fire, I dug deeper. Karen's gift wasn't just spite. It was personal. Turns out, Bradley had flunked out of college for the 3rd time, and she needed a project for HEMA fixer-upper to flip for quick cash. But my cabin, it wasn't even part of the HOA proper. Grandpa had opted out decades ago, a detail buried in yellowed deeds that smelled of aged paper and ink. I pored over them by lamplight, the bulb flickering like my hope, until a knock at the door jolted me. It was Mrs. Ellis, the elderly widow from down the lane, her frail frame bundled in a shawl that reeked faintly of lavender and mothballs. "I heard about Karen," she whispered, her voice quivering like autumn leaves in the wind. "She's done this before. You know, to my husband. Back in '98. Tried to seize our shed for community storage. We fought, but he had a heart attack mid-battle." Her eyes welled up, and she pressed a crumpled envelope into my hand. "These are old minutes from HOA meetings. Proof she's been bending rules for years." A tear slipped down her cheek, splashing onto the porch with a soft patter. I hugged her, feeling the fragility of her bones. And in that moment, anger surged through me like a wildfire, hot, consuming, leaving ashes of doubt behind. That unexpected gift from Mrs. Ellis cracked open a Pandora's box. The documents revealed Karen's web of deceit, forged signatures on amendments, kickbacks from developers, even a hushed-up affair with the former HOA treasurer that explained Bradley's scholarships. My stomach churned at the sleaziness of it all. The way power corrupted like rot in an apple's core. I confronted her at the next HOA meeting. The community hall buzzing with fluorescent lights and the murmur of neighbors shifting in metal chairs that scraped against the linoleum floor. "This is fraud," I shouted, slamming the papers down, the echo reverberating like thunder. Karen's face twisted, her lipstick-smeared smile faltering for a split second before she recovered with a haughty laugh. "Jealousy doesn't suit you, dear." The board approved it unanimously, but whispers rippled through the crowd, eyes darting like shadows in the dim room. Bradley lounged in the back, smirking, his cologne wafting over cheap and overpowering, like his entitlement. The lawsuit hit like a storm front. Mike filed in county court, the air in the clerk's office thick with the scent of stale coffee and desperation. Discovery unearthed more dirt, emails where Karen bragged about teaching that hillbilly a lesson, voicemails laced with venom that made my skin crawl. Nights blurred into a roller coaster of emotions, rage boiling over as I punched pillows, despair crashing down with sobs that shook my frame, hope flickering like a candle in the wind when Mike called with good news. "We've got him," he'd say, his voice steady amid the chaos. But Karen fought dirty. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in bruised purples, I found my truck's tires slashed, the hiss of escaping air a sinister whisper. Coincidence? Bradley texted me later, with a winking emoji that ignited fresh fury. I paced the cabin, the floorboards groaning under my weight, the distant hoot of an owl mocking my isolation. Enter the twist that turned the tide, Detective Ramirez, a burly cop with a mustache like a broom and eyes sharp as hawk's talons. Mrs. Ellis had tipped him off anonymously, and he showed up unannounced, his badge glinting under the porch light. "HOA fraud's one thing," he rumbled, his voice gravelly from years on the beat. "But tampering with evidence, that's criminal." Turns out, Karen had tried to shred documents, but a whistleblower, her own secretary, fed up with the bullying, had copied everything. Ramirez's revelation hit like a gut punch. I leaned against the doorframe, the rough wood biting into my back, a sigh escaping my lips that carried the weight of vindication. "She's going down," he said, and for the first time, I believed it. Court day dawned crisp and unforgiving, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones as I walked into the courthouse. The room smelled of polished oak and tension, the gavel's potential crack hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Karen sat primly in her power suit. Bradley slouched beside her, his tie askew like his morals. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with steel gray hair and a gaze that could freeze lava, listened as Mike laid out the case deeds, emails, the whole sordid mess. Karen's lawyer sputtered objections, but the evidence piled up like snowdrifts. When Mrs. Ellis took the stand, her voice trembling but resolute, recounting decades of HOA tyranny, a hush fell over the room, broken only by the soft sniffles from the gallery. Then came the climax. "Ms. Whitaker," the judge intoned, her voice booming like Judgment Day, "your actions constitute fraud, trespass, and abuse of power. Not only is the cabin rightfully the plaintiff's, but you violated state laws on eminent domain and fiduciary duty." Karen's face drained of color, her gasp slicing through the silence like a knife. Bradley bolted upright, his chair scraping back with a screech that set teeth on edge. "This is bullshit," he yelled, but bailiffs restrained him, the clink of handcuffs a sweet symphony. The judge's gavel slammed down crack, echoing my pounding heart. "Defendants are ordered off the property immediately. Fine of $250. 000 for damages and punitive measures. Justice isn't a gift. It's earned." As they were escorted out, Karen's sobs, raw, ugly, stripped of her facade, filled the hall, a cacophony of defeat. I stepped outside into the sunlight, the breeze carrying the fresh scent of freedom, a deep breath filling my lungs like rebirth. The cabin was mine again. But more than that, it was a symbol. Stand up to bullies, unearth the truth, and justice prevails. In the quiet moments that followed, as I sat by the fire, the flames dancing with pops and hisses. I whispered a thanks to Grandpa. His legacy wasn't just wood and stone. It was the fire in my veins, the unyielding spirit that turns victims into victors. And in Willow Creek, whispers of change stir the HOA reformed. Neighbors united. Sometimes, the underdog bites back. And oh, does it taste sweet?